Hi there, Grant from Penguin Motors here. Today I'm coming at you from our engine build room. What I'm leaning on here is a Ford Zephyr Zodiac straight 6 engine. This is a Mark II, so commonly referred to as 2.5 litre. We're going to build a fast road engine out of it, more torque, a bit more grunt, always a good thing. The first stage is to, as with most engines, make it bigger. So we've kind of gone initially a conventional route, and it's been rebored to take Volvo B1800 pistons. The Volvo piston was quite a common modification back in the 60s and 70s, primarily because the Volvo piston had the right compression height and a gudgeon pin size almost identical to the Ford. That's actually a Ford rod, and that's the Volvo pin. We're not worried this isn't a perfect fit yet because we're not going to use this rod. More on that later. This particular Volvo piston is forged, but only because the cast pistons are hard to get hold of now. Modern forged pistons are cheaper and easier to lay your hands on. This piston's got 85mm diameter, so it's 2.5mm bigger than the original Ford one. That on its own gives us another 154cc, making the engine 2,707 to be exact. But we haven't stopped there. We sent a crankshaft to the machine shop, gave them the sizes for the early Mark I big end bearing, which was smaller, and asked them to grind the crank pins to that size and offset them, move them over. And that will give us more stroke. The piston travels up and further increase the capacity. So what we're going to do now is I want to find out what stroke we've actually got. What we actually did was said to the machine shop, these are the sizes, there's the crank, get us as much as you can. So we don't know what we got. The other thing is that when you change the stroke, you change the length of the rod needed. So part of the process, we can have a measure up and see what length rod we need, because ultimately I'm going to have a set of rods made. Because we've got what's technically a mishmash of bearing sizes, we've got small bearings and big bearing column rods, this isn't going to work. So I've made some nylon extra thick big end shells just for measuring purposes, just to pop in the bottom, so when I drop the rod on the piston in the block, we know where we all are, and I can have the correct length rods manufactured, ready to drop in. So, what do we know? We now got a stroke. It's 84mm, give or take the tiniest fraction, and the reason I say give or take the tiniest fraction is that because we haven't used the actual rods, the actual pistons, the actual bearings and clamped everything up proper and tight, this informal measure can't be 100% accurate, but we know give or take a very small amount, the stroke is going to be 84mm. That gives us an engine capacity of 2860cc. Funny enough, same as my racing BMW. That's 103cc more than standard, which you think when this engine, when new, only made around 100 horsepower, 15% more capacity is going to add considerably to the power and torque. Next thing we need to do is take the crank back out and strip it out. Take the block out to my Bridgeport Milling Machine, and we're going to re-drill the head bolt holes. And we're going to re-drill them to a bigger size, but we're going to offset them. We're going to move them over. And the reason we're going to move them over is a lot of the combustion chamber sits above the block here, not where you do ideally want it, directly above the piston. So by moving it over, it makes the combustion chamber more efficient, and we can remove some of the nasty edges that will probably lead to a spot of detonation if you're not careful. So it's a win-win all the way round by moving the head over a bit. Quite fortunately, Ford Pinto bolts are about the right size, and they're slightly bigger. It's not a major engineering task. It actually makes the head gasket a better fit. Well, this is a Zephyr 4 gasket, not a Zephyr 6, but it's the same thing. As you can see, it's not a very round shape, and by moving everything over, it'll actually make the gasket fit the bores better. Win-win all round. See you next time. If you like this video on the Zephyr engine or the V8 Rovers or the Ford Pintos or anything else we do, you know what to do, guys. Like, share, subscribe. It really does help. It does make quite a difference to us, and it helps us bring you these videos.